All right, today is Tuesday, the 17th of November, and unknown to me, when I was showing you the stuff we were working on before, what's up on the screen right now is going to change in a minute. This is the same handout I gave you. I screwed up on a few things. So what I want us to do is I want us to start from the beginning. Why? Because I want us to build this the right way. All right? So I apologize for that. It doesn't make any more sense to say anything other than that. All right? So I'm going to start a brand new project. All right? If you say, well, I don't want to do that or whatever, when I get done, I will save everything and it'll be out there. So if it makes more sense to you to just watch what I'm doing, then do that. It's not a problem. All right? So I'm just going to start it from the beginning. So I'm going to why I got to go through this every doggone day. All right. So I'm going to start up a brand new project. So first, of course, I'm going to start up Xcode. All right. And I've already got a guessing game. I've done some work to it. The one that I gave you right there, does it work? Well, define work. And what I mean is, does it work? Yes. You can put a guess in there. It'll tell you too high, or it'll tell you too low, or it'll tell you guessed it, and it'll keep track of the number of guesses. That's good news. All right. When I click the clear button, the program just literally blows up. That's not good news. All right. So I'm going to start all over again because there's a few things I told you last time that although you get to the right answer, we're not doing it the right way. So that's what I want to try to show you. All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to create a new Xcode project. Again, a single view. I'm going to click next. I've already got one called guessing game. So I'm just going to call that GG for guessing game. All right. All the stuff in here is the same setup that we've been talking about. I want to save it, make sure it's on my desktop. It says already there it is, so that's good. So I'm going to create. All right, and I want to go into my storyboard right away. We're behind a little bit, so I just want to get us going. Now, if you remember from last time, it kind of looked like this. I'm drawing it on the board. So if you're watching the tape, of course, it's very hard for you to see this. All right? I think this said what? Guess or something like that. And that's your actual guess. Then we had something below it that said status. And that's going to say too high, too low, or you guessed it. All right? We've got another one here that says num guesses. And that's going to hold literally our number of guesses. All right, then we have buttons here. Make guess. We got a big one down on the bottom that said new game. What were these? Clear and exit. What's that one? I don't even remember. Does anybody remember what the other button is?
Make guess, rules.
Rules. Thank you. All right. So that's pretty much how the interface is supposed to look. All right. Everything that's down here, these 5 things that you see right here, those are all buttons. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. All right. These 3 things that you see right here, so this and this and this, these are all labels. This, if I remember right now, John, is a UI text field. All right. That's the only one into which we are going to put any input. Everything else is going to be based off of what we put in there. All right. So this and this also are both labels. So I'm going to, what I just put on the board, and it's also out there on the system, because I made that picture of it before, probably looked nicer than this one, I don't know. But I'm going to quick paint the interface on the screen in the storyboard file right now. Are there any questions about what the interface is, what it's supposed to look like, etc.? We don't have time today because we're a little bit behind. So if you have a hard time building this, you're going to have to rectify that on your own. Okay? All right. So again, here's my storyboard. So I'm going to start coming in here and adding my components. Remember over here, this has got the equivalent of our toolbox down here. So I'm just going to, the order in which you put this stuff in really and truly doesn't matter. So I'm just going to put in all my labels here. Then I'm going to put in my UI text field and my 2 labels. Then I'm going to put in my 5 buttons. But again, the order in which you do that doesn't matter. You may or may not have noticed that when you do this and you run the program and you get the keyboard here, everybody know what I'm talking about when you get the numeric keypad? Well, if this thing comes down real low, you won't be able to see the stuff that's here because it'll be blocked by the keypad. All right? You can set it up so as soon as you get off, move off the keypad, that goes away. And we'll talk about that in just a bit. All right? But I'm going to push this stuff up pretty high is what I'm telling you. All right? So there's my label. So here's going to be my first one. And again, you can see I'm sticking them way up and into the corner here. All right? So there'll be my 3 labels, and I also have a label here, and I've got a label here. All right. Next, I want a UI text field. And I'm going to put that up here. Not good. All right. So right now it doesn't look like much. It'll look better once we get going, but I'm just throwing all the junk in there. Then I want to put in my button, or buttons, I should say. So I've got here, here, and the last one I made like twice as big, basically. All right. So there's my interface. Right now it looks like dirt because it's got the word label and stuff all over the place, but ideally at least all of you get the idea. All right. Now, right here, this is supposed to say guess, and it's going to in just a second. This is supposed to say status, and it will in just a second. And this is supposed to say num guesses, and it will in just a second. Does it make sense to everyone? Those 3 labels are static text. They never change as long as the program is running. So we don't have to do anything to associate these 3 labels with anything in our code. Does that make sense to everyone? I mean, it's important that you understand that. It's just static text. It's like the difference if you were writing an HTML document of just literally putting a paragraph out there. That's kind of what we're doing. But we're not styling it. We're not doing anything with it. So I'm coming in here, and again, I can set this up any way I want. I'm almost going to butt this thing up so it looks a little nicer. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to play with these things a little bit here. So what I'm doing right now is basically, for lack of a better word, it's just aesthetic stuff. We don't have to be doing this. Just think it'll look a little bit nicer when we get it all done.
You don't have any quick options for like fit to size?
The question was, are there any options for like fit to size? The answer is yes, but really in order to do that, you have to use auto layout, which we're not going to get into this semester. All right, but we will next semester. Okay? All right. So the first thing I want to do is with my label over here, with that highlighted, or trying to highlight it, with that highlighted, I'm going to come over to here, and I'm going to click, I don't remember which one, but I'm going to keep trying them until I find, oh, that isn't what I want. And Eric, you just asked that. If you look way down here in the bottom corner, and you look at this stuff that's down here, this is all stuff that we'll work with next semester, but just so you see it, if I take my mouse and click right here, click on it, come on, it just did light up. That's how you can set things up. That is a way, but you do that in conjunction with auto layout. All right? All right. top right.
That one? Yeah.
That's what I wanted. Thank you. There we go. All right. And we want to come in here and we want to go to the one that's right here. Is that the connections or that's the attributes inspector? All right. So make sure that you click over here, which shows your object pane, and then click over here, which brings up your attributes inspector. So if you've got the label highlighted and it looks like this, you did it correctly. Okay? All right, now a couple things. I'm not going to go nuts with this stuff, but if we wanted to, we could change the font for this. We could change the color for this. We could change anything we want, almost any kind of attribute we wanted to. I'm not really that concerned with that. So there's two things I want to do. I want this to say guess. So I want to change the name right there that says label because that's what's on here right now. So I'm going to change that to guess. And then I'm going to write justify, just so it looks a little nicer. So I'm going to put guess, colon. All right, so I'm going to click in here, remove that label, put in guess, colon, and then click right here to write justify. All right? Guess, colon, and write justify. And you can see how it's changed. All right? So I'm going to do the other two down below it also. The next one says status. So I want it to stay status with a colon. And again, write justified. And then finally, the last one will say num guesses. And if you run out of room, just use the pound sign for number. Num guesses. And again, I'll write justify that. All right, so it looks like it's still a little bit off, so I can make it a little bigger. There. All right. Any questions on anything that I just did right there? Anything that doesn't make sense? All right, I don't want anything in here. I don't want anything in there because that's my text field. That's where I'm going to put my input. So at least for now, I want nothing to be in there. All right, this right here, that's going to be too high, too low, etc. That's going to be my number of guesses. Does all that make sense? All right. Now, think about it. My status. I haven't made a guess yet, so it really makes no sense at all to put anything in there. Would everybody agree with that? The problem is removing that, totally removing it, and having nothing there. All right, having nothing there, it's going to make it invisible on the screen. I'm not going to be able to see it. So that could be a little bit confusing. All right. So I'm just going to leave the word label in there. There's hints and stuff you can put in. Just for now, I'm just going to leave that in there. All right. In here, when I start a new game, how many guesses have I made? Hardest question you've had all semester.
0.
All right. So I'm going to literally just hard code a 0 in there. Yet I don't have to do that, but I am going to do that. All right. So I'm going to leave the word label by status. All right, I'm going to leave that word there. And I'm going to come over here to where it says label under guesses, and I'm going to hard code in there a 0. All right, and if you don't like the way that it's butted up to the left, you can always center justify it. So I put a 0 in there, right here, and I didn't like the way that it looked left justified, so I center justified. You could also right justified if you wanted to. Again, I'm not that concerned with aesthetics right now. That said, next semester we're going to build approximately 6 apps as a class, okay? And we're going to go through them, and we're going to go through them not slowly, but not quickly rather, but not slowly either. So if you fall behind, all right, there's not going to be a lot of time because what I want to do is I want to do that in about the first 9, 10, 12 weeks at the most. Because I want to give you at least 6 weeks where you're going to build your own app. And we're going to do this in both classes, in the iOS class and in the Android class. If you decide you want to build the same app for both classes, not a problem. If you want to build a different app, one for each class, not a problem. That's up to you. My suggestion would be that you probably build the same app in both languages. All right, just because it's, you know, there'll be some duplication of work, yeah, but it'll be probably less work. But if you say, no, I got this thing I'd like to do as an iPhone app, and I got this thing I'd like to do as an Android app, not a problem. That's going to be approximately half of your grade. Okay? All right, so I've got the 0 in there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my buttons and I'm going to put a face on each one of those buttons. So this one, instead of having it say button, like we've got right here, I'm going to have it say make guess. And it's probably going to be, yeah, if you notice it doesn't fit in there. We'll fix that in just a minute. So make guess. Then the next one says rules. And then the next one says clear. And the last one says exit. All right. Everything, oh, this one's new game, I'm sorry. Right here, this one is new game. All right. You'll notice that by default, the text on my buttons, by default, all right, is centered. Okay? So this number of guesses looks like it was a little bit too narrow, so I'm going to make it wider. So I'm just going to widen it out so it's about as wide as the other one. All right? And I'm not going to worry about that right now. It looks like it's too small. We'll fix that in a second. All right, so there's my interface. Again, nothing to write home about, nothing beautiful, etc. If you remember, one of the things that I showed you last week was I showed you where the user guide was for Swift. Okay? If you go out to that user guide, right now, what we've done is we've created what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 controls. I think everybody agree with that. We've got 11 controls on there, and with all of them, all that we did was we dragged them out there. Everybody agree with that? But you don't have to do that. You can literally programmatically create controls. We'll look at some of that next semester. And why would you want to do that? Because if you programmatically create controls, you can make your buttons rounded. You can make them gray so they look more like a standard button. There's a lot of other stuff that you can do. I'm just not really that concerned with that right now. The only thing I am a little concerned with is that's off there. Oh, it looks a little better. All right. So basically right now, my interface is done. Does that make sense to everyone? But right now, I could run the program, and as you guess, if I clicked on any button, nothing would happen. Because again, these things are not wired up. So what we're going to do, like we did last time, but we're going to do this again, is first we're going to wire up these 3 controls right here. All right? So we're going to wire up the UI text field and those 2 labels. All right? Then we're going to wire up the buttons, but we're not going to wire them up the same way I told you last time, because that was a horse's ass way that I told you. I'm going to show you a better way of doing it. All right? So I'm going to, just like we did last time, okay? I'm going to come over here, and I want to bring my code up. Remember, if I want to bring the code up, if you look on the screen, here's my storyboard file. If I click the thing that kind of looks like rings right there, right under where my name is, so right under where it says Jeff Scott, if I click there, that brings up what? The assistant editor. All right? And I really don't need this view control thing right here. I don't exactly need it right now. So I'm going to remove that, or at least I should say I'm going to make it smaller. If I can somehow.
You just hit the top corner.
Top what?
I mean top right, sorry. Oh.
Yeah, but that's this one. That's not the view controller seat.
Down at the bottom of that column, there's that little over to your right a little bit.
Over here?
There.
Thank you. See, I knew I'd get it eventually, because if I didn't, somebody'd tell me because they would take pity on me. So thank you. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to come in here and I want to take and create all of my variables, but I want all of my variables in this example, nothing is going to be local as far as these things go. So what I want to do is, again, I'm going to hold down, I think it's my control key. I'm going to hold down on that and I'm going to drag right here. Remember we did that last time. We're going to do this 3 times. The order in which you do these doesn't matter. But since that's my first one, I'm going to do that one, then I'm going to do that one, then I'm going to do that one. Okay? All right. So I'm holding down on the control key and on the mouse pad, dragging over and letting go. You saw this last time. This is where we name things. There is no standard for this. Like there is typically, like if we were doing this in ASP.NET right now, we would probably call this like button, or not button, we would call this like, I don't know, text box guess or something like that. There is no standard like that here. In fact, most of the time when you see it, they just call it what it is. Well, this is going to be what? Our guess. So I'm just going to call it guess. All right? Now, what some people like to do when they're doing this is they're saying, wait a minute, yeah, that's going to be our guess, but technically, that's going to be a string, right? Because we're putting it into a text box. So what they like to do is they like to take those kinds of variables and preface them with like str for string. Sometimes you see that too. All right? And I'm just gonna leave it at guess. Okay? We could change it if we wanted to. Remember, the only thing that's here is UI text field. And the only thing that's here, there's weak and strong, but we want the system to take control of it. So we're going to literally leave it the way it is after we put in guess and click connect. All right? So that created a new variable for us. And when it created it, it says it's an IB outlet, which means we're going to connect it to our interface builder. All right? And it's weak, meaning we're going to let the system control the memory of it. It's a variable. It's called guess. It's a type UI text field, and it could possibly be null. That's why we've got the exclamation point on the end. We didn't put that there. The system put it there. All right? So I'm going to create the other two also, the labels that are down below it. So I'm going to click on the label here. Again, hold down on control, hold down on the keypad, drag down, let go, and this one will be called status. And I'm going to click connect. All right. And then I'm going to do it one more time for here, which I'm just going to call num guesses. Again, if you don't like my names, that's okay. Call them whatever you want to call them. So those are my 3 variables right there. We'll add more stuff to it later. All right? Those are, when I say that those are our variables, what we've just done is we have associated these things right here, the UI text field, the label, and the label with code. All right? Remember, before we did that, they weren't linked to one another. All right? Now they are. All right. Now, what I told you to do last time was to come in there and start writing IB outlet and start writing your routine for each one of these buttons. That's not really the best way of doing it. What I want to show you right now is a better way of what I tried to tell you last time. All right? Now, what I'm going to do is under my, I can put it just about any place, but I'm going to put it here under my did receive memory warning. So I'm just giving myself some space here. I said this to you last time, but I want to make sure you understand this. This talks about, notice what it says, do any additional setup, loading the view, etc., that type of thing. This is similar, the view did load similar to a constructor, but not exactly the same thing. We're not going to worry about putting anything in there right now. This did receive memory warning. That's if we had any kind of problem, we were running low on battery or whatever. We're not going to worry about that either. All right? So, again, the order in which we do these doesn't matter, but I'm just going to do them in the order I put them in. So I'm going to do this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. If you don't like that, do it in any order you want. It doesn't matter. All right? But it's going to look very similar to what we did before, but please, if you get ahead of me, don't just click connect because it will be wrong. All right? So I'm going to click on make guess. I'm going to hold down on the control key and on my touchpad, drag over here underneath there, and I'm going to let go. Look familiar? But we don't want this to be an outlet now. We want this to be an action. Because what we want to do is we want this to be able to react when we click the button. Does that make sense? All right. What I did last time, what I showed you, it's not so much that it was incorrect, but we left, by doing it by hand the way I had you do it, we left out something that you're going to see in here in just a minute. All right. So I want to click where it says outlet, and I want to change that from outlet to action. All right? And if you notice there's three of them. There's outlet, which we've already looked at. There's action, which we're doing right now. And there's outlet collection. And that's kind of if you've got an array of outlet variables. So we're not even going to be concerned with that right now. All right. Now, what is this? Well, it's make guess, right? So I'm going to say here, make guess. Don't put any blank spaces in there. All right, run things together like I did. Call it whatever you want to. And again, with some of you, when I'm telling you things, it's not because I'm this great fountain of knowledge, but I'm telling you things based on standards. All right, and that's, you know, I still see this, especially in the first year people. I had somebody come up to me last week. I don't understand why my program's not working. They created a variable that had a blank space in it, and to the system, and it was JavaScript. All right, the system didn't know what they were trying to do. All right, when I click this and I click connect right here, what you're going to see is it's going to create that routine for me without me having to type that in. But it's even more than that, and that's what I want to show you. So I've got action, make guess. Now the type, well, I'm going to just choose UI button right there, because if I don't, it defaults to any object, which means anything could trigger this. The only thing that I want to be able to trigger this button click is a button. So I'm going to actually choose here UI button. Notice the default event. You see what it says? Touch up inside. You may or may not remember this, but I said this to you last week. This is the equivalent of a button click event. This is what it's called in Apple land. All right. So we're going to leave that as it is. The argument. Sender and event. Sender is fine, which is the default, so I'm going to click connect. Notice what it did. It wrote that for me. This is what I had you write last time, but we didn't have the sender thing in there. All right? This way you get that by default. And do you typically need that? Almost never. But it's in there, and this was done automatically for me. Also, what it did was it said, oh, what you wanted to do there was you wanted to be the touch-up inside event, the click event. We didn't have that last time when we just started typing stuff in, and then we dragged to it. You didn't get that. So we've got a lot more automation right now with what we've just done. So I've got that one done. I'm going to go over to my rules. I'm going to again hold down on control, click, drag down here. Same kind of thing. I'm going to choose action. I'm going to call this, I'll call it show rules. For the object, I'm going to set it to UI button. It's on touch up inside. So I've done that one. If you want to take a quick look, because I'm going to click connect right now. All right. And then I'm going to do the last three. And when I get done with that, all three of our, all five of our buttons will be wired up, our two labels will be wired up, and our UI text field will be wired up. Does all that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to connect again. There's my show rules. If you want to just call yours rules, again, that's all arbitrary. It doesn't matter at all. Here's my clear. Action, I'm going to call it clear GUI for clearing the GUI. I'm again going to set it up so it's UI button. All right, and I'm going to connect. So there's three. I want to do exit. Again, I mentioned this to you before. I'm doing exit just kind of for completeness, but Mac does not, or Apple does not want you to actually have exits. And then finally the last one, which is going to be new game. All right. Give you a second to catch up on that. Any questions on anything we've done? Again, we can run the program right now, but it's not going to do a darn thing. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you something else that, what I'm about to show you, if you watch, you don't have to do this. Okay? But what I want to do is this. I want to have the next thing that I do, I want to run the program, and I want to click each one of the buttons to make sure they're working. Does that make sense? And when I say to make sure they're working, I don't mean that they get pushed in. I mean that when I click them, something happens. Okay? Now, do you have to do this? Heck no. All right, but if nothing else, I'm being a little bit pragmatic. I mean, I'm just nice and slow and steady type of thing. So what I want to do is I want to click this, and when I click this, I want it to come up, and I just want there to be a little alert that comes up that says in make guess routine, in rules routine, in clear routine, in exit routine, in new game routine. Does that make sense? So that's all that I'm going to do. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to put that in there. If I wanted to leave it in there, I could just comment it out, or I could remove it when I get done. But this will give me a little bit of peace of mind as far as what I'm doing. Now, there appeared to be a problem with what I tried showing you last time with these alerts and what you were doing. All right, so I'm going to try this, and I've got it another way with some help from Travis. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here and do this. So I'm coming into the first one, which is my make guess. Again, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. But I'm going to say here, let alert equals UI view. You have to spell view right. Oh, I'm sorry, UI alert view. My fault. All right. So let alert equal UI alert view. All right. Alert dot title equals, well, where am I? I'm in make guess. All right. Alert dot message, and I'm again, let me keep it real simple, in make guess function. All right. Oops, sorry. So I'm telling it to make an alert view. The title on it should be make guess. The message inside of that should be in make guess function. The button that goes along with it, probably I should have said close right there, but it's fine. And then I'm telling it to show it. Does all that make sense? Again, if you don't like this, because I guess that is a kind of a dumb name, add button with title. I guess make guess is kind of a dumb name, but again, if you want to just say close, that's fine too. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. If I wanted to right now, I could go and copy all this stuff right here. I could copy it from here to here to here to here to here, and then just change all the stuff, right? I could do that. But I'm not going to do that. What I want to do first is I want to run it, all right? And I want to run it once with that stuff to make sure that it works. Because why should I go and copy it in 5 times before I test it? All right. That said, and that's one of the things I'm guilty of, and I've got to do a better job of telling you guys and the first year people this. Write a little code and test it. Write a little more code and test it. Don't write a lot of code and then test. It's just not a good way to write code. All right. So someplace over here, there it is the simulator. So I'll see whether or not this worked now. Okay, everybody see it? I just clicked the button. See what happened? Make guess, in make guess function, close. Okay? Now, is that enough? What I'm doing is I'm putting in placeholders right now. Does that all make sense? So I'm going to put in 4 more placeholders. I'm going to put 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. That way I know all those buttons work. What's that?
I don't see that simulated button on mine.
You got to run the program. All right, so I'm going to add those 4 things right now. It is now 8:48, okay? Let's start up again about 5 after 9, okay? And then we'll start writing the code. So if you want to stick around and do that, you can, but you don't have to. I just know now that if I do happen to press any one of my buttons after I put this in, all right, that something at least should happen, okay? Other than just having it look like the button's pushed in, okay? So I'm going to stop taping right after I add the same code to the other 4 routines here. So I'm going to quit my simulator. I'm going to grab all of this.
Yeah, Jeff, I was just going to mention UI alert has been deprecated.
It is? Okay.
Just a
See, that's
warning.
John heard this already. If you were here earlier, you heard this yesterday, because I've been having tons of problems trying to get onto El Capitan, which is the new operating system, so I can put in the new version of Xcode. All right, no, they're switching over from air to heat. That's if you hear that, you're going to hear it for the next couple of days. All right, but for some reason the system is not acting very nice with me. So I'm using an earlier version of the operating system. I'm using OS 10 Mavericks, and I'm using an earlier version of Xcode, and I'm using an earlier version of Swift. Because if I'm going to screw it up, I might as well screw it up times 3. All right, if I can get this to work, okay, then I will put the new version of the operating system on. But it hasn't worked for me. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to run it again just so I can now check out all of my buttons. So if you saw that, all my buttons now work because I've got something in each one of those. Again, I'll save everything for as far as we get today. I'll save everything. And I'll put a folder out there and it'll all be in there. What you can do then, if you want to, if you fall behind or have any problem with yours, is you can grab that folder, copy it to a flash drive, and then put the flash drive in the Mac and copy it over to your desktop on there. That'll work just fine. All right, so I'm going to stop the simulator. I've saved, but I'm going to save again. And I'm going to go back into Camtasia so I can stop my Camtasia that I'm recording here.